In this video, I'm going to show you a helpful flowchart that I've created for factoring, and I'm going to start with the sections that we've covered so far. And the first box in the flowchart for factoring today, where we're going to start here, is called Factor Out Your Greatest Common Factor First. I'm going to abbreviate that, GCF, and you always do the greatest common factor first. After you take out the greatest common factor, if you are left with three terms, then you're going to have something that looks kind of like this: an ax squared plus a bx plus a c. And today what I'm going to show you is how to factor when the a is equal to 1, and I'm going to show you how to find your two factors. And so what's going to look like this in your factors is you're going to have two numbers here, and these two numbers are going to be what multiply to a times c and add to make b. And I'm going to explain what that means in a few videos, or in a few examples down below. And then next, before we start, I want to talk to you about standard form, because standard form is where you need to start. So again, you're going to have an x squared term, a quadratic term first, and then a bx term, meaning a linear term followed by a numbered term, and you need all three terms. And so just kind of to start, you need to know what the a, b, and c are that I'm talking about here, the coefficients of your terms. And so for this example here, the 2 is your a, the 3 is the b, and -4 is the c. The sign is also important, so since you see a minus sign here, that's a negative term there. For the next one, 1x squared minus 2x and plus 7 at the end. For the next one here, a is in front of the x squared, so -3. B is in front of the x, and c is the number term, so +9. And now look, you see only two terms here, but there is a number for b, and I want to show you what that is. It's 0, because you have no linear term. And so you could say -2x squared plus 0x minus 4. Now normally we don't write plus 0x, but that would be what your b is there. So I'm going to show you how to factor this first example, how to factor when you have 1x squared. When a is 1. So you find two numbers that multiply to give you the last number, because when a is 1, 1 times that number is just that number, and then add to give you the middle number. So what two numbers multiply to give you 15, and also at the same time, what two numbers add to make 8? So what multiplies to make 15 and adds to make 8 at the same time? It is the numbers 5 and 3. And then what you'll see is the 5 and the 3 pop into your factor pairs. So I said up above, you're going to have x with a number and another x with a number. And now watch, I'll show you how this works. So this is really the same as this polynomial, and I want to show you why. If you were to multiply and distribute, x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x, 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times 3 is 15. And when you combine those two middle terms, you have x squared plus 8x plus 15. And notice that's the polynomial that we started with. And so that's our process today. I'll show you a couple more examples to finish this video. So here we go. These three examples, here we go. What two numbers multiply to give you 2 and add to make the number 3? And so what I would start with is just what are the multiples of 2? 1 times 2. Or, for example, you could have -1 times -2. That could also multiply to be +2. Now, which of those pairs add to be +3? Well, it would be a 1 plus a 2. And so each of your factor pairs, you're going to have an x with an x, because we're looking at x squared. So x times x gives you our x squared. And now those two numbers that we said, 1 and 2, a +1 and a +2 multiply to give you the last term, and 1 plus 2 adds to give you the middle number. And so here's another example. We want two numbers that multiply to make 12, and those same two numbers add to make 8. Well, the multiples of 12 would be 1 times 12, or 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. Out of those pairs, which pair adds to make 8? And it would be this pair here. And so you're going to write your two binomial factors. They're each going to begin with an x because we begin with x squared, and x times x begins with x squared. And then I'm going to have a plus 2 and a plus 6 because 2 and 6 multiply to make 12, and 2 plus 6 adds to make 8. Now I'm going to show you how I know that. So when I multiply x times x, again, we started with x squared, which is what we said. Now the middle term comes from two things. The 8x comes from two places. Here, when I multiply x times 6, I get 6x. And here inside, I get 2 times x, or 2x. And those two numbers are what make the 8x in the middle term. And the 2 times 6 is how we got our 12. And so this, I should have written a plus sign here. Let me fix that. So this check when I multiply does make what we started with, so we know we factored it correctly. Okay, here's another example. When your front term is 1x squared, you want to find two numbers that multiply to make the last term and add to make the middle term. Well, things that multiply to make 6 would be 2 times 3, would also be negative 2 times negative 3, 1 times 6, or negative 1 times negative 6. Out of those pairs of factors, which is the pair that adds together to make negative 5? Well, negative 2 and negative 3. So for your factor pairs, you're going to put an x with an x. One of them will get negative 2, and one of them will get negative 3. Now, the order of those doesn't matter. It just matters that you have a factor with x minus 3 and a factor with x minus 2. So again, order, I'm going to actually write that down. Order does not matter. I'll finish up with 3 examples, and then I'll start a new video with just a bunch more examples. What two numbers multiply to make 20 and add to make negative 9? Well, what multiplies to make 20? We have a lot of options there. A couple things that come to mind would be the number 4 times 5, 2 times 10, let's see here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess 1 and 20, or any pair that would be negative for both. So negative 4 times negative 5, negative 2 times negative 10, or negative 1 times negative 20. Out of those factors that multiply to make positive 20, which is the pair that adds to make negative 9? It would be this pair, negative 4 and negative 5. And so my answer is going to be x with a minus 4 and x with a minus 5. And again, the order of those does not matter. I'm just going to highlight that to make it a little easier to see my answer here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, so here's another one. What two numbers multiply to make negative 42? So multiply to make the end and add to make the middle. Now, the middle, they don't show the number 1 there, but really that's negative 1x, and so what adds to make negative 1? So multiples of negative 42 would be 6 times 7, but if I want negative, one of those needs to be negative. Now, which of those pairs adds to make negative 1? It'd have to be the negative 7 and positive 6 pair. So my factors will each get an x, because x times x gets you x squared in the front. Now, it doesn't matter where you put your positive 6 and negative 7 as long as one factor has a 6 that is a positive and one factor that is a 7 that's negative. Here's my last one for this video. What two numbers multiply to make negative 20 and add to make 1x, add to 1? So 20 could be negative 1 times 20, 1 times negative 20, 2 times negative 10, negative 2 times positive 10, 4 times negative 5, or negative 4 times positive 5. Which of those pairs adds to make positive 1? It would be this pair down here. So my two factors each get an x. One will get a negative 4 and one will get a positive 5. And these are my factors. And again, I just want to show you before I end this video, this is how you can check your work. You multiply it out. X times x gets you x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Negative 4 times x is minus 4x. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. Do these middle terms combine to make 1x? They do. And that is how you can check your work. You just multiply.